Hello, my banter kings and queens. This is your girl Antoinette, and we are back today to talk about the Love is Blind UK reunion. And it got a little bit fiery, but also it was cut off before we could really, I don't know what happened. The UK producers don't really like drama, maybe, but they were cutting things pretty short, and I didn't appreciate it. Okay. But let's get into this. Okay. This is Bits of Banter with Antoinette. So let's start with Demi. Demi looked amazing. First of all, everyone looked amazing. And Jasmine's makeup was fire. Like, oh God, she does her makeup so well. I don't know who did her makeup or if she did her makeup. It doesn't really matter. She looked amazing. But let's get into Demi and Ollie. Demi said pretty much, they were asking like what happened. And pretty much she said that even though she said that it's a no for now, she was like, Ollie's a great guy, but he wasn't my guy. I was like, okay. And you know what? I didn't really expect her to say that. And pretty much literally after it ended, they did not get back together at all. And she moved back in with her parents, and she was like, the person she sees like in the show, watching back the show, is not who she is now. She knew that she needed to work on herself and really spend time on her. And I love that for her. Honestly, I love that for her. I thought that was great. She was putting energy into herself, and you can tell now the type of, what's the word for it? That she's way more confident now than she was before. That she has more respect for herself than she did before. And I love that she took that time. And also they just never got back together. Ollie ended up chiming in, and I love this part a lot because he ends up saying like, one thing he didn't like is that pretty much how the audience, people watching, tried to put their beauty standards on him. And he was like, Demi is the type of girl that I go for. Demi's looks is what I like. And everybody in the comments and everything saying that like, oh yeah, like Ollie didn't like Demi. He's like, no, I did. I was attracted to her. I am attracted to her. Actually, Catherine is not usually the type of girl that I go for. And Catherine made a face like this. I was like, girl, it's not about you. It's not about you. And then the host pretty much saying, oh, well, but this isn't a negative towards Catherine. And Ollie trying to be like, well, yeah, it's not. Catherine's like, yeah, but, oh my God. She's like, yeah, but like, what pissed me off is that you judged me, that you tried to judge me, I guess, about her like being in those clubs or whatever. And honestly, this wasn't about her. And I hated that because what we were talking was about beauty standards. What we were talking about was that Demi is beautiful, that he was attracted to her. And honestly, the audience, everybody needed to hear that because there is this issue with people thinking that only skinny, fit people are attractive. And that's not true. And Demi has a beautiful body. She has a beautiful face. Everything about her is beautiful. And I like that Ollie was like, I want to address this. And I'm glad that he did. But then Catherine had to chime in with her mouth and try to make it about her. Demi clocked her though. And she was like, actually, let's get back to the topic at hand. And she was like, I actually have a problem with you, Catherine. And I was like, yes, let's get into it. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get down to the problem here, which is Catherine. And she brought up, she's like, hey, when you were in your confessional and you were talking about how that you didn't think that Ollie would like me, that we would be a good match, and that, oh, my mouth is going to get me in trouble. She's like, you were talking about my looks and my weight, and that's why you didn't think that we would be a good match. And she's like, and that wasn't okay. She's like, I liked you pretty much she was saying, I liked you, Catherine, in the pod, but after now watching back, that left a bad taste in my mouth. And I was like, it left a bad taste in all of our mouths. And of course, Catherine's like, oh, that's not true. That's not what I meant. And Jasmine, love her down. I love Jasmine down because when she took that sip of water, I knew that she was trying to make sure that her throat was clear so that she could read this woman for filth. And she did. And she was like, oh, actually, excuse me. I have a question for you, Catherine. And I was like, we all do. Let's hear it, Jasmine. I want to hear from you, Jasmine. And we did hear from her. So she ends up saying to Catherine that she was like, well, if it wasn't about her looks, if it wasn't about her weight that you were trying to talk about, then why did you say your mouth was going to get you in trouble? Because you were trying to say that. And Demi is beautiful. Demi is amazing. And then Catherine starts with her tears. And I was literally like, stop it. Stop it. Take your lashings and apologize. I literally was just like so done with Catherine, and then her trying to fake cry up there. I was like, don't cry. You said what you said. Now stand on it and take accountability. Catherine this whole time honestly bothered me. And I just feel like she was trying to take away from what really mattered. And that was us trying to clear up some things with Demi and Ollie. Demi is a star, and Demi being able to have her platform now. So pretty much she tried to say, Catherine after that tried to be like, well, I mean, if I did say that, I'm sorry. You did say that, Catherine. You did. Because also, I remember it. It was in a confessional. The camera was on you. The mic was on you. Literally only on you. Because there was nobody else talking. There was no background noise. So we heard you loud and clear. And we all knew what you meant. We all knew what you meant. So let's just stand on that. And you say that you're being an a-hole. You're being an a-hole. You're being judgmental. And you're putting your own insecurities on her because you think that you've got to be fit and thin to be pretty. And that's not true. That's not true. So moving on from that hot mess. Then we talked about, they brought up what Ollie thought about Charlotte. And pretty much we ended up finding out that Charlotte and Ollie are together, but it's complicated. Ollie. That was disappointing. That was honestly disappointing. He was saying pretty much, he's like, yeah, I mean, you know, we couldn't deny our connection, but it didn't happen right after. I'm like, okay. That was just upsetting to hear. And then they were all like trying to skirt, and Demi turns. She's like, well, I just want to say, Ollie's not my man. Charlotte, is he your man? Demi was fire. Demi was so fire in this. And I just wish we got more, that we got to hear more from her, because I know she had more to say. Or maybe she said more and they cut it out. But we wanted to hear more from her, guys. I'm just so tired of these producers cutting out things that we actually want to hear. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But so that was into that. Charlotte pretty much saying things are going well, but that Ollie has been with her for these last 3 weeks, and she couldn't have gotten through these last 3 weeks of like pretty much the show being out without him. And I was really confused by that. I was very confused by that, because I don't really know what she was going through. We saw like literally very little of her. We never even saw anything of her in the pods. Literally the only thing that we saw of her was in that, you know, in the pod squad when everybody was there, and pretty much Ollie and Freddie saying that she was attractive. That's really all we saw of her. So I don't know what support she needed from him. Like why this show coming out was so hard for her. I really don't know. So I wish and I'm not, maybe it was hard for her, but I feel like I need an explanation for it, because there was really nothing in the show that was shown to us that should have been hard for her. So maybe there's something else there, like, I don't know, some trauma happened and this kicked things up. I'm not sure. But they're basically, and it's complicated situationship possibly, but neither of them will say that they're together, but they're exploring things. So Steven and Sabrina, this is where the producers and the host pissed me off, because things were getting good. We were starting to get down to the nitty gritty with them, and they cut it off. They were really like, okay, well, let's stop here. I was like, oh, no, let's not. Let's not. I want to hear more. Sabrina, I don't want to say hate, but close to hates this man. She pretty much saying that Steven didn't support her. So they're not together. Spoiler. But she pretty much said that Steven didn't support her, that really after everything ended, They weren't supposed to be long distance, but because they both like, she had quit her job and she was doing stuff in Belfast, and I guess he also was doing starting a business. They ended up having to do long distance, and their communication really broke down. Like, he was not communicating with her. Like, he doesn't like to talk on the phone and he doesn't like to text. So there was like, he just like, if they weren't together, she really didn't hear from him, which I was like, oh, that's messed up. And from what we saw, he didn't refute that. So I was like, what? Stephen, what is that about? That was really weird. And then also she was saying that like she traveled to him like at least 7 or 9 times, and he only traveled to Belfast twice. Not okay, Stephen. Not okay, Stephen. We're going to talk more about this. I do feel like there has to be more to the story, because Stephen seemed like he was holding things back. Sabrina was not. She was letting us know what she thought about that man, and she thinks he ain't shit. She does not think highly of him. Stephen pretty much was saying that she's lying, that he doesn't recognize her. He's like, I don't recognize you. And that he could say more, but he respects the woman that he thought he married. And so he won't say more about what happened between them. And he's like, but this is not like the whole story. And I was like, Stephen, please say more. Like, we need to know more. Like, this is a show. Like, if there is more, don't let her dictate the narrative if there's more. So Stephen on his side, he says it was long distance, and at one point he gets a little smart with her, because she was like, well, when we were together, things were fine. He's like, well, either we weren't fine or we were fine. Like, I feel like you're being contradictory. And I was like, spicy. I mean, he's not wrong. And she's like, well, when we were actually together in person, things were good. It's just that the communication was down. You weren't coming to see me and you weren't supporting me. And Stephen even felt like what he did say, felt like she also didn't support him. And Sabrina brought up that 2 days before he was supposed to come to Belfast for Christmas, he canceled. And he said something like, shit happens, they'll get over it, about her family. And he pretty much said that that's not true. He didn't say that, and that's a lie. So I don't know what's true. I don't know. And I don't know who to believe. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Stephen looked really upset, but he was like holding his tongue. So there's a part of me that thinks the narrative isn't all the way what Sabrina is saying. Obviously, it's also what she thinks. This is how she interpreted things too. So like, that's not necessarily wrong, but the truth, there's like your side, my side, and the truth. So like, I would like to hear more of his side, honestly. And I wish he wasn't being so reserved. Sabrina had said that it's difficult to watch back. And so does Stephen. He said that when he watched those episodes of them, he like cried, and it was hard for him to watch as well. And I guess like the hosts were asking him some questions, and he's like, I come off as a perfect person in this. And he's like, and a lot of people keep writing me saying that I'm this perfect person. He's like, I'm not. He's like, but also, like, when everything's paid for, you're traveling, you're on these honeymoons, you literally don't have to worry about anything. He's like, that everybody is going to be literally their best self during that. He's like, but the thing is, when we got into the real world, when we do have to worry about finances, when we do have to worry about our jobs, when we do have to worry about the fact that like we literally aren't together 24/7, that's when the problem started. And that's when it became like, we just weren't able to get past those issues. We weren't able to figure out the real world together. And I respected that response, because I think that's true. I think it would be hard to go from, all expenses are paid. Literally, you don't have to worry about anything. You're not at your job, you're not anything. You're literally together 24/7. And all you have to worry about is working on your relationship, and then go to the real world where everything is back on you and all your responsibilities. It's something where it's like, that is when you really find out if you're right for each other. I think that also happened a lot during COVID for some people, where it was like the opposite in a way, where a lot of people they were used to all of their responsibilities, and then how they work together in a relationship with all that, like having to go to work, kids, blah, blah, but they're not together all the time. Then also when COVID happened and people were literally stuck in a house with this person 24/7, and they literally could not handle it. So many relationships broke up because it was like, actually, I don't like you when I have this amount of you. Like a lot of people ended up breaking up. So I think that was a pretty valid explanation on his side. So I believe both of them, honestly. I just wish we got to hear a little bit more from Steven. Then Sabrina says to Steven, she's like, you're a man of your words. She said, you're a man of many words, but you're not a man of your word. I was like, what? And then that's when they stopped it. That's when they were like, actually, let's stop this argument and let's move on. No, we were about to really get into it. I was so annoyed about that. So that was really what happened with Sabrina and Steven. So Steven's single, guys. And he's very attractive. I guess he doesn't like texting or calling. Let's consider that. So I guess you either need to go live near him, or if you're a US girly, you need to go move there. Okay, because he doesn't like long distance. But, hey, for any of you lucky girls that live there or willing to move there, shoot your shot. So Bobby and Jasmine, they are so cute. They're still together. I knew they were going to still be together. I knew Bobby loved that woman and Jasmine loves him. Pretty much 2 days after they got married, he moved to London. And then they got their dream home, and they were saying that they're best friends. This part was just so sweet. And then seeing their year of a relationship, it was beautiful. There's one point where he was carrying her and she was like, he's struggling. And he says, I've been carrying boxes all day, but I always have strength to carry my wife. Bobby. And then what I loved is that the host asked him, he's like, since you guys got married, has spicy Jasmine come out? He's like, yep, she has. And he's like, you know what? It was unfortunately, he's like, I did not get to see firecracker Jasmine in the pods. He's like, but when I did get to see that, it actually made me love her more. What? Bobby is a dream, and Jasmine looks so happy. This man treats her well. And she treats him well. I mean, Jasmine looks like she's a lover girl, and whoever she cares about, we could see that even from Demi. We knew that Jasmine would treat whoever she's with well. But we see Bobby takes care of his woman. And I love to see it. She deserves that. She looks like she is living a life of a woman that is loved, cared for, and adored. Oh, I love that for her. And then also Jasmine's mom saying that they had asked her, do you approve? And she's like, I approve 110%. She approves of them now. And I love that. And actually now he said that they're working on kids as I speak. So I'm like, we're going to look out for, pregnancy announcements. I had one of my friends say that he thought that Jasmine was already pregnant, which is possible because the fact that they said that they're working on it, but also maybe they're not as scared about that stuff. So maybe he just said it because he said it. But I was like, maybe she could already be pregnant. I do also like that they were talking about how has Bobby been doing about reassuring you, because you had some insecurities about Instagram and online stuff. And I love how Jasmine took accountability, and she's like, he does reassure me. She's like, but also, I also realize that I have to do the work also to reassure myself, to also not to do the work on my triggers and on my own trauma, because it's not all up to him to reassure me. I also have to do the work to work through those issues. And I was like, yes. I mean, we love Jasmine here. Okay. We love, there no negative talk about Jasmine on this channel. Okay. Oh, they were just so cute. There's not really much to talk about them. They're in love and they love each other. What else can we say? Tom and Maria. So Tom said no at the altar because of the differences. We all saw that. And also all the things he said about how one of the reasons he said it was because Maria wants him to pay for everything, and he wants to raise, he's like, he doesn't want to raise his children like that, because he wants he doesn't want his son to think he has to pay for everything, and he doesn't want to raise his children. He wants to raise his daughter to be independent and self-sufficient, which was like absolutely horrible to say, because Maria is independent and self-sufficient. And I like in this, Maria got to stand up for herself a little bit, and she got to say, she was like, I want to clear some things up. I was never asking him to pay for my lifestyle, to pay for my bills, to pay for luxury goods. That was not at all. She's like, I think the whole payment thing got out of hand. She's like, in my culture, it's about dating. And honestly, I'm really surprised by a lot of the backlash that that Maria got for this, because there are a lot of women and men that also are a little bit more conservative in that way, or a little bit have that belief about dating as well, that the man pays for the dates, for when they go out, the man pays. There's a lot of people who are married and they still do that. Even though they have joint funds, the man still pays. So I think that's what she was trying to say. And I do feel like Tom has a lot of issues that he needs to work through, that he ends up projecting, and that I feel like, looking back and stuff, that he ended up projecting on Maria. And I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. Like, we already know that he has trauma with his father, but I don't know where all his judgmental stuff comes from, where he was judging her on her being a makeup artist, where he was just so adamant about like, everything has to be 50-50. Everything has to be 50-50. I don't get that. That part was like, he was just so worried about that there is something going on there, because a relationship's not 50-50. And a lot of times financially, unless you both are somehow literally making the same amount, it's not going to be 50-50. That's just not how life works. So he was just so worried about like, I don't want to have to pay for everything. I don't want to pay for everything. Even though, at least the way he was coming off, he has a really good job. He makes really good money. I don't know why he was as concerned about that. And Maria has a job. She makes her own money. She takes care of herself. So I don't know why he was concerned that she wouldn't be able to take care of herself. So I do like that she cleared up that stuff so everyone can get off her back. And it's one of those things. If you are the type of woman or man that doesn't believe in what Maria believes in with the dating thing and men paying, then date someone who believes in what you believe in. It's really not that big of a deal. There's nothing to like be hating on her for that. And then the host asked Maria how she felt about what he had said on the wedding day. And she was like, it would really piss me off, because in a lot of ways he was insulting my parents and my family and how they raised us, because by saying that, I would have raised an independent woman. And she's like, my parents raised independent and self-sufficient women and men, and they raised kind kids that cared about people, kids that didn't judge people for their job or how much money they make, kids that care and love, and, and like really don't judge people based on who they are, not on the superficial things. And I was like, she really read him there. She really read him for filth there. And I was like, are you hearing this, Tom? I think that's something you need to take into account. Tom, I feel like he has some PR training or something. During this whole thing, he didn't really say much except like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this like really made me look at myself a bit harder. And I was like, say more. I'm going to need more from you. Like, how did this change you? Like, do you feel differently now? Are you less judgmental now? In what ways, and what areas did you look at yourself, and how have you been working on yourself? I just wanted to know more. And I feel like he just was giving very much surface level answers there. And then they asked about like how Maria felt after seeing when that scene where her mom talked to Tom, and she's like, that pissed me off even more. The fact that after all that with my mom, and how she like welcomed you into our family, and how you guys had that heartfelt conversation, and then after our wedding, you still insulted me and the way that she raised me and basically my family, you still said that after that beautiful moment with my mom. And so she was like, that really made me boil. And I was like, yeah, that would have made me boil too. Like, how dare you? Like, how dare you? If anything, he could have left it at, we just have different values. And I feel like it's not something we can really work on. I don't think it's something that in the end, neither of us are able to budge here. So it's not going to work, and left it at that. Him bringing up, I just don't want to raise my kids this way, in a way that like, where I want to raise a daughter that's independent and self-sufficient. How dare you? How dare you? Like, that was just rude. Honestly, at first I really liked Tom in the beginning, and then I just didn't. And then I just didn't. He is just so judgmental. He has a lot of trauma. He has a lot of things to work through. He needs to figure out why he is just judging people left and right for things that don't even make sense to judge them on. This isn't like he's judging someone for killing somebody. He's judging someone because they like just have different views than him. Just because they don't have like a super high paying job, or because someone's a makeup artist there, he thinks they're superficial. It's like, where are you getting that from? You know, like, I just don't know. So Maria was really funny when they were like, well, is there anything that was positive? And she's like, yeah, we had good times. And they're like, are you guys friends? And she's like, we're good. I think looking back, this is another one. Maria does not think highly of Tom at all. And I really feel like Maria seems like a good person. All the girls love her. She even seems to be still friends with some of the guys. Maria seems like such a good person that I trust her judgment on the fact that she's like, I don't fucks with Tom. I think there's more there. And I'm glad he said he does wish that he's like, after looking back, he wishes that he treated her better. I was like, yeah, I wish you did too. So Benaya and Nicole, they were so cute. They're still together. I had a feeling they were going to be still together. They were soulmates, honestly. And then the part where they showed a clip of their meeting, of their first encounter, their first date in the pods, and pretty much they showed their first date in the pods and their reaction. It was so, so sweet. Honestly, it was so, 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 so sweet. I loved that. And just the way that they were reacting, it was just beautiful. And I loved also seeing them react to their reaction. It was just adorable. Pretty much Nicole ended up, they're still together. They're living together and they're really happy. We got to see a year of their relationship, which was really cute. Benaya is in love with this woman. Benaya loves Nicole down, and I love that for her. And Nicole loves him. This is like soulmate stuff. They are soulmates. Also, he ends up saying, he's like, I just want to say Nicole looks beautiful, especially her eyes. And she was like, not boring brown. He's like, not boring at all. And I was like, yes, king. Let's address it. Let's flipping address it. And then even the host ends up asking him if Benaya feels like if he had wished that he had like kind of reassured Nicole a bit more in the pods. And he said, yeah, he regrets that he didn't do that because like he feels like, he wishes that their relationship had been a bit smoother. Like basically just like their story had just been a little bit different where things were just like boom, boom, boom. Like if he had reassured her in the pods, then they would have gotten engaged in the pods and they wouldn't have had Sam as part of their story. And he's like, I regret that. I wish I hadn't been so scared because they were like seeing back how you reacted, like, what was happening there. He's like, honestly, everything was so good that he got scared. And I was like, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, he hadn't been in a relationship for 11 years. I can understand how that would be like, you have this first date with somebody and you're like, I'm falling so hard. I haven't been with anyone so long. Like, obviously the person he was with 11 years ago really broke his heart. He's been through a lot of heartbreak. So it's very obvious that he was like, clammed up and got too scared to reassure her. Nicole, it was cute. Nicole tried to like take some blame where she's like, well, I feel like actually I want to take some ownership. If I had actually said to him, you know what, I actually can see us see us getting engaged and I love you and I can see you being my husband, then maybe things would have been different. But I was like, no, he's like, no, he's like, I appreciate it. He's like, but no, this was on me. Oh, God, I love them. I love them. They were just so sweet together. Also, Benaya saying, what else did he say? Yeah, I don't know. They just were really cute. Then they bring out Sam, which they didn't need to. They really, really didn't need to, because he didn't say much. He had some like platitudes about like, you know, he's a different person now. He's really grown from this. He thought he was ready for marriage, but he obviously wasn't. Blah, 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 blah. They asked Jasmine, like, you know, what she thought. And Jasmine was like, and why she had said no. She's like, honestly, it's just women's intuition. I had a lot of hesitancy and like a lot of fear when it came to Sam that I did not feel with Bobby. And she's like, and girls, you have to listen to your intuition. And I think that's a great message, guys. You have to. When you get that feeling from a guy, even if you think they're cute or whatever, you should listen to it. If you have hesitancy like that, or if you feel like someone's just telling you what you want to hear, listen to it, you know? Nicole ends up saying thank you to Benaya, you know, because they asked her, when watching back, do you understand now why Benaya said what he said and why he was so like protective and upset, you know? And she was like, yes, I do. I 100% see it. And she's like, and babe, I just want to say thank you so much, you know, for having my back, and trying to intervene, even though I didn't listen. Like, you really supported me. She's like, he still has my back. He still protects me. And she's like, I just really want to thank you for being there for me and being my third eye. And I was like, that was so sweet. And I'm so glad that they addressed it. I'm so glad that she got to be like, thank you, even though I didn't listen to you. Thank you. They asked Sam about why did he say, I think I love you bit. And he said he couldn't stand there and say that he was in love with someone when he wasn't, but he felt like he was falling in love with her and that he could fall in love with her, but he didn't want to like lie and say that he loved her. And he's like, and that's the whole point of the process, is to like, you know, from the pods to the wedding, to see if you can fall in love with somebody and like get married, and if that experiment works. And I'm going to say bullshit and no, Sam. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say bullshit on that and no. You know why? Because that's not the experiment. The experiment is you're supposed to fall in love in the pods. In the pods. You're not supposed to ask someone to marry you that you may or think you could or possibly in some time fall in love with. That's not what you do. That's not what you do. And honestly, you just keep telling on yourself. It's obvious that you just wanted to get out of the pods with someone because you were not in love with her. You're literally admitting that you were not in love with Nicole. You literally just admitted that you were not in love with Nicole, and you proposed to her even though you weren't in love with her. That's crazy, dude. I mean, this whole experiment's crazy, but that's even more crazy, because why would you propose to somebody that you weren't in love with? The whole point of the pods is to fall in love. And if you fall in love, to then propose. That's it. That's it. And then to see as you go along, where they keep like go on the honeymoon, then they give you a little bit more responsibility, live together without like, you know, a honeymoon situation, then plan a wedding and see if you will want to marry the person, and then marry them and then see if that works. That's it. Or don't marry them. You do not propose to someone you do not love. It makes no sense. So that was just a bunch of bull crap. And then they asked him like what happened at the London Mixture, and why did he say Nicole wanted to sleep? Like, why did he feel like the need to tell Benaya that Nicole wanted to sleep with him? Honestly, I don't even remember what he said, because he said a whole bunch of nothing. He didn't actually even address that question fully, or even address it at all. He like was saying some platitudes and some sorries, and not even sorry to Nicole. And then Demi interrupts, and she said, say I'm sorry to Nicole. She's like, say I'm sorry to Nicole, please. She's like, it was disrespectful. And I was just, Demi is in her moment. Demi is confident. Demi is herself now. I can feel it. Her confidence is literally I can feel it through the screen. And honestly, that's what I was sitting there thinking. She said everything that I was thinking. Say I'm sorry to Nicole. You were being disrespectful, because he was just talking in circles, and not once did he apologize to Nicole. Not once he wasn't even looking at her. He was not even looking at her. Like, it was just crazy. And then Nicole was like, yeah. And I don't even think, even after Demi said that, Sam still didn't even apologize, or he like kind of did. And then Nicole was like, yeah. And also what you said about me trying to sleep with you, she's like, that was hurtful and it was a lie. I am so glad we finally got to address that, because I already knew it was a lie. I already have a post about that, and I already have some people commenting under it being like, no, she tried to sleep with him and he said no. And then Benaya was her second choice. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. And we got to clear this up. Nicole got to clear it up that she did not try to sleep with him. It was a lie. And I'm glad that she finally said it, because I think when this was being filmed, she still thought that possibly Sam could be an okay person, that she didn't realize all the things he was saying. She didn't realize all the things he was doing. She didn't even realize that he told Benaya this. And I think at first when he had told her this, in that she was just trying to be cordial, and she was still thinking, you know what, he's just hurt, and trying to like not cause discourse. But I'm glad this time she's like, no. And Nicole even looked like she was about to cry. I think looking back and everything, like she was really hurt by all this. And then also another thing that we got to clear up was that, because they were like, well, so who broke up with who between Sam and Nicole? And they cleared it up. Nicole was like, well, what ended up happening is that, you know, I actually did take what Benaya said to me to heart. And I actually did trust him. So after the whole proposal, you know, we met up and I told him I did not want to go to Greece, that I did not want to get married, and that she kind of wanted to keep things off cameras. And I guess, I mean, she didn't say this exactly, but I'm assuming that I guess like part of the conversation was like, let's try to get to know each other. Like that was her first step, was being like, let's not go to Greece. Let's just like kind of get to know each other on our own time. And she said, she's like, Sam did not take that well, which basically we are kind of already knew. Sam doesn't take rejection well, and he would take this as a rejection. And we already saw how when the way he threw his golden sippy cup when Jasmine broke things off with him, and how he was laying on the floor having a temper tantrum, that he just doesn't take things well when it's not going his way. But also, I think her saying that, I'm glad it cleared up. It wasn't you, Sam, because Sam was like, yeah, it just wasn't right. No. Nicole broke up with you. Nicole was the one who said, I don't want to go to Greece. I don't want to do this whole thing. And you had a temper tantrum about it. And that's also when she knew, I got to get away from this man. And she already knew. She was like, and she even said that. She's like, I kind of already knew. She like, I had a feeling. I was like, I don't know if this is right. I need to know him more. And this isn't the right setting for that. And then I think within those 2 days after the whole proposal, they got to know each other. And she was like, yeah, this isn't working. And she was still thinking about Benaya. And so she went to go get her man. And they're still together. Benaya is not her second choice. And you can see that. And I'm really glad they showed how the reaction after their first date on the pods, because Benaya was not really her second choice. I think she was just very, very confused. And she wasn't, she wasn't getting the validation for Benaya that she needed. But also, even though she said yes to the proposal, she was not actually going to just go with the whole thing, because she wasn't sure about Sam. So I think that this really helped all of us see more of her character. And then Benaya, it just was cute. He was like, honestly, like, I knew Nicole was the one. So when I heard that things with Sam ended, he was like, I was ecstatic. I was happy. I was jumping up and down. Because I knew Nicole was the one. And he was like, and I knew as soon as I found that out, I was like, I'm not going to fuck this up again. I'm not going to lose her again. I'm going to go get my woman. And he did. Oh, sorry. I'm rambling because I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love them. I love them so much. So then Freddie and Catherine. Betsy Dora kept making faces and they kept crowing to her. And I feel like she was like, watch it, Catherine. Watch it, Catherine. There actually really wasn't that much that was shown about Freddie and Catherine, honestly, in this. I wish we had a little bit more, but I think also because Freddie is such a class act, he wasn't going to say everything, but I think he said enough. Freddie ended up saying that, you know, they had a lot of differences. That, you know, that she would snap at him quite a lot, and that he had felt like he couldn't really be himself. So he became a lot more reserved and felt like he was like going more inward towards himself. And there just were differences that they just really couldn't, what's the word for? That really couldn't be resolved. And the way he said it, he even looked scared saying it. He was like, so yeah, I mean, you would kind of snap at me, and I didn't really feel like I could be myself. Like, he just looked so meek, and I was like, God, that girl scares you. That girl scares you. And I mean, Catherine, yeah, she has problems. So, but also Catherine said, she's like, yeah, I mean, because even Betsy Dora, because they asked Betsy Dora, do you stand by what you said at the wedding? And she's like, yeah, I feel like they didn't have differences. She's like, honestly, watching it, I do feel like they care for each other. I feel like that was real. She's like, they were a beautiful couple, but like they weren't right for each other. And she's like, so I do stand by what I say, what I say. And she's like, also when he came home, he just was so reserved and not himself. And just like, she's like, he had become a shell of himself. And even Catherine's like, I mean, I don't disagree. She's like, I could tell that too, that he stopped really being himself. And I'm like, okay. But then the host asked about the earrings. They're like, so why, you knew that you weren't going to say yes to her, so why did you get those earrings? And he ends up saying, he's like, so I felt like if I didn't give her those earrings, and I didn't give her a present, then that would have been frowned upon. And he kind of looked at her like, if I didn't give, you know, her present, I was like, wait, is he trying to say that she had been like, you need to get me a present? There's a part of me that feels like that's what he was trying to say. And then he said, but you know, and then when I did, people said I was misleading her. So he felt like I don't know, I guess he felt like he didn't know what to do. But if he didn't give her that present, then she would have been upset. And then getting at her that present, she felt misled. So pretty much he felt like he was between a rock and a hard place. And either way, it was like a lose-lose situation for him. So I found that very interesting. Yeah. And then Catherine was like, yeah, you know, honestly, I really appreciated the earrings because that's like, I knew that was a big deal for him. That's like not really like him. And yeah, I think what she's saying is like, it's not really like him to buy something so expensive. Like that's not really his style. It seems like he's a little bit more frugal with his money. Nothing wrong with that. And, you know, she really did appreciate it, but she did give the earrings back because she didn't feel right keeping them after things ended. And then honestly, her tone was a little bit different than the tone that she had. There was like this Netflix, you know how the Netflix podcast that they have for this show, she had said something like, well, yeah, so he came to wherever she lived for 2 days. She's like, that was really great of him to come for 2 days. She had a little bit more of an attitude about him. And even there was another time too on a different podcast or something that she seemed to talk a little bit more negatively about him. So I'm like, interesting. But I think because Betsy was there and all the other pod people were there and they weren't going to allow her to talk negatively about Freddie. So I think maybe that's why she had a bit, you know, she checked her attitude at the door. But then she also started crying a little bit. She's like, you know, I learned a lot from Freddie and I learned a lot from the girls. And I feel like maybe more people had gotten on her. And I think there's probably more to the Catherine and Demi conversation that we didn't get to see because she seemed like she was addressing something, that there was more that was said. Even when they talked about to Sam, they were like, I mean, I know you got a lot of stuff. A lot of people had a lot to say here. So I was like, but they didn't show that, which is really annoying. So I feel like there was more to this reunion that we did not get to see. I think that's my biggest gripe with this reunion. There was definitely more to be seen. There's definitely more to be seen, and we didn't get to see it. Them cutting off, final thoughts, them cutting off Sabrina and Steven's argument or whatever pissed me off. We needed to see that. There was more to this. Honestly, the fact that they weren't together was the juiciest part. Steven and Sabrina were like basically boring in the show because they were just cute and we just all knew they were going to say yes. Now this is a juicy part. Why are you cutting it off now? And then the Catherine and Ollie and Demi stuff, I feel like more was said. The Sam stuff, I feel like there was more was said. We needed to hear more of that. So I don't know. These producers these days, I feel like they just don't understand that we need to see more. And it just felt like the UK hosts were just being way more reserved than even than US hosts, because they were just like really cutting off drama. So that was this was a good reunion, but it wasn't a great reunion. It could have been great if they really allowed people to talk. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I think it's great that Demi chose herself. And honestly, I think it's also great that Bobby and Jasmine are still together and they're so cute and they're trying for a baby. And Benai and Nicole are together. It's just beautiful. I think this season was really great, and they pretty much said they're like, until next time. So I think we're going to get another Love is Blind UK season at some point, probably a year from now or something, or maybe they've already filmed it. I feel like they I don't know, they're always filming Love is Blind seasons. Like I feel like they're never not filming. So they probably already started filming one. But yeah, please leave your comments down below and like and subscribe. I really love these little chats of ours. Love you, mean it. Bye.